Yes. How goes it? That's interesting. All right. Still trying to get the coffee right. The loss of the governess is immense. Still trying to get the coffee right. Okay. I am going to. Bunch of you guys have been asking about my personal TikTok. This doesn't matter to the rest of you live streams, but I am going to put that in the live. There we go. All right, so there you have it. Okay. All right. So, how is everybody doing this morning? This evening, I suppose, if you're in the U.S. Hopefully, all is well. It's a beautiful day here in paradise. All right. Oh, I got TikTok over here today. Okay. So still working down the end of year special. End of year special is still on. There are still 3 spots available in the second phase of the end of year special. So there's that. Excuse me. I guess it's the light from the devices here. There are 3 devices in front of me. All right, so end of year special, 3 phases left, or 3 plots left in the second phase. End of year special is really designed for people who didn't know how they were going to support themselves after moving to Kenya. So end of year special has the bond ladder built in that provides passive income to the owner of the bond ladder for about the next 10 years. Well, minimum. Most of our bond ladder targets actually go further than that. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's show you guys the last ladder. Is that it? I don't think so. I think this is it. There we go. So that is the ladder. Ooh, let me see if I can move this sticker. It's tough to move it anywhere where it doesn't delete it, huh? All right. All right. So that is last year's actual yield report. It's a page from the report that the clients got from last year. If you are on Facebook, you're not going to be able to see it. I'm going to see if I can show it to YouTube. Facebook, unfortunately, just doesn't have the ability to really show it. I think this is it. Let's see. Yes. All right. And YouTube doesn't show it as well as TikTok. So if you have the ability to look on TikTok, that makes it better. All right. So these are last year's clients. I see somebody saying what is the deposit in U.S. currency? There's no deposit in U.S. currency for the end of year special. It's 185,000. It includes your house, your immigration, land, the bond ladder, which is what you're looking at right now, which is the passive income that comes with it, and an offshore trust fund to manage all of it. So it's there. I don't know about like a deposit situation. But as you can see with the folks who came on board last year, these are the exact payments, right? So these are the exact payments that they got for the entire year. So this is last year's payments that came out for that bond ladder. Yeah, it's 185, and it includes the house, which is a little bigger than 1,600 square feet. It's like 1,800 square feet. So you get a brand new house by the beach, Indiana Beach. So you get a beach near house. You get the land, obviously, that the house is on belongs to you as well. The immigration, so you get your immigration status and all of that done for you. Your tax compliance is done for you. Then you get the trust fund that can be used for multiple things, but initially it'll be used to hold the bonds. And then you get the bond ladder, which is 6 bonds, each with a little over 1 million local currency in the bond. And then the bonds pay out this way. In January, that was the smallest bond of that year. So January and July are the same bond. The way that bonds pay out here is they pay out twice a year half of their ROI, right? So the total ROI for that bond, the net, was actually 108,000. So it was 108,000 local, currency net, but it paid out in January and then it paid out again in July, right? And then you see there's an infrastructure bond there that paid out in February. Infrastructure bonds are nice because they're tax exempt. So that pays out in February and it pays out in August, right? Then they got another fixed deposit bond in March, and it paid out in March, and then it paid out in September again. So you see the numbers are identical 6 months apart. So that's how the passive income is working, right? So that's how people are talking about they're moving here and then they don't have to work anymore for the next 10 years and the blah, 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 blah. That comes from this technique, right? Which is called bond laddering. You can bond ladder anywhere, but the key to bond laddering is the interest rate, right? So right now, amongst these bonds, the lowest interest rate, which was the January and July bond, was 12%. All right, 12% would be 2% higher than the S&P 500, right? So the highest one in there would be February and August. That was 18.46%, 0.4607 to be exact. All right, so that was a killer bond, and so that was almost double the return on investment on the S&P 500, right? Guaranteed by the government. So that's the way that the bond laddering works. They're different rates because each month is a different bond, and those different bonds are giving different interest rates. So some are giving 14%, some are giving 15%, some are giving 18%, right? And so that's how that works. Any questions on that? You can't see it because you're watching on Facebook. So if you can get over to our TikTok, you'll see it clearly. If you get to our YouTube, it'll be like a green screen in the background. You won't see it as clearly as TikTok. TikTok, you can see the entire document. Yeah, I don't know. It's the features of the app. Zuckerberg is getting lazy. I don't know. Right. So our bond ladder targets 50,000 a month in passive income, and we target 10 years. So, if you look at the list of bonds there, the last number is the years. So you'll see like the July one, which is July and January, it's 30 years, right? Then you can see like the October one, it's 15 years. The November one, which would be November and May, is 25 years, right? So the targets that we have in place, we routinely exceed our targets. So nothing there is 10% ROI, which is our ROI target. Everything there is at least 2 points higher than 10%. So nothing there is 10% ROI, which 10% would technically be the same as the S&P 500. So we target S&P 500 returns, and all of those returns were higher. And we target 10 years. Now, the only years that are lower than that are the infrastructure bonds. So you'll see like in December, that's a 6-year bond. And you see in August, that's an 8.5-year bond. But if you go over to the tax column, you'll see that those two bonds, their taxes are 0. That's why that exception was made. Infrastructure bonds sometimes have a lower maturity, right, under the 10 years, but they're tax exempt. So you can see that those bonds are carrying the portfolio to a certain extent, right? Because the highest payout, which is 92,350, is an infrastructure tax free bond, right? The next closest payout is 72,000. So it's like 20,000 difference, right? So even on the lowest payout, which still isn't lower than the 50,000 that we target, which is the January July payout, which is 54,000, the extra 20 you're getting off of the infrastructure bond evens that out. So that 54, you can look at it as a 74, because there's an extra 20,000 on that infrastructure bond because it's tax exempt, right? And it has a really great rate. So that evens everything out to where like you're averaging, 65, 70 on everything, even though you have that one guy pulling you down at the 54. But even that one pulling you down, it's still 4,000 above target. The target's 50,000, right? So all of our bond ladders so far have over delivered. No, it's a bond, right? So once the market kind of, you know, naturalizes, they'll be like 6%. Because bonds are very low risk. But because they're very low risk, they give a very low rate of return. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. The difference here is that Kenya is currently shifting from developing to developed nation, right? So all of the last infrastructures, like for example, there's a nuclear power plant being built right now, right? So all your last little infrastructure things, nuclear power plant, finishing off your train system, stuff like that, all of that is happening right now, right? So it's the same thing as like in America, like when the FDR was doing like the national highways and all of that. U.S. savings bonds went through the roof because that need for capital was there, right? And so it's the same type of situation here, where they're making that last little push. They're about to become developed or first world or whatever you want to call it. They're about to have their own nuclear power plant. They're about to have all their logistics squared away and all of that. And so there's this last little push for cash to get all those projects done. And so that's why their bonds have better interest rates than like blue chip stocks right now. But that is not going to last, right? They're not going to keep giving out 15, 16, 17%, of return on investment on these government bonds. So in a year or two max, right, could happen this year, but in a year or two max, it'll equalize out, and then the bonds will go back down to normal, which will be 6-7%, which is still okay as a safe investment, but it's definitely not enough for you to live off of the interest, right? So you won't be able to utilize it to relocate and then not have to work and just retire and sit at the beach all day if you want, right? No, it's not a stock. It's a bond. So when the interest rates go back down, the bonds that you already have will keep paying the high interest rates, right? They don't fluctuate like a stock does up and down. This is what a bond is a bond is the organization issuing the bond, right? So if it's a corporate bond, which that's not what this is, and we don't typically deal with those, but if it's a corporate bond, then it's a company issuing the bond. In this case, it's a treasury bond, so it's the government issuing the bond, right? And so what a bond is that the bond issuer is using the bond buyer as a bank, and it allows the bond issuer to set their own interest rate. Now, typically, there's a government agency that oversees that so that they can't, come up with some crazy 2% interest rate. Not that anybody should buy that, but. So there's typically some government agency that reviews everything and makes sure it's on the up and up, and then it goes from there. Here it's called the Capital Markets Authority. In America, it's called the SEC, right? And so what ends up happening is they issue this debt, and so they're asking for a loan, and then you own the debt. So it works the exact same way as you taking a bank loan in reverse, right? You get the principal back plus the interest. The interest is the percentage that they're talking about. So the interest is the 15%, the 18%, blah, 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 blah. right? The principal comes back to you as well, just like a bank. You got to pay back the amount you borrowed plus interest, right? So that's how bonds work. So they're paying you back the amount that you gave them plus the interest that they agreed to for the term of the loan, essentially, right? So in November, that's essentially a 15-year loan, right? If you look at October, I'm sorry, November is a 25-year loan. If you look at October, it's a 15-year loan. You look at September, it's a 10-year loan, which is our target, right? You look at July, it's a 30-year loan, right? So you're getting those payments for 30 years, and then you get all your money back. You get the initial capital back, right? So very different than a stock. It doesn't matter if the current rates go up or down. If you already owned the bond, your rate is locked in. It's like a loan, right? Why are there only three left? Oh, because part of the special includes land and that house that we build for you, right? So the land is not unlimited. If it was just like a bond special, then obviously we could do those all day. Wouldn't matter how many people wanted them, we could do it. But there's only so much land. So we actually sold out the first tranche like the last week of December. Mind you, we launched it like December 26th, right? And then we were sold out by last week of December, and those were the first 12 plots that we had. So from there, we tried to get another acre, but here in Kenya, the government officials go on vacation for Christmas holiday or end of year holidays, New Year holidays, whatever you want to call it. So from like the 26th of December to typically like the 12th, 13th, even 15th of January, the heads of the departments in government are on vacation typically. So there's no one to sign for like land transfers and stuff like that. So we didn't think that we were going to be able to get the additional land in time to bring this back, but we did get it. So 1 acre has 8 50 by 100. So 50 by 100 is an eighth of an acre. So 1 acre has 8 plots. We went back, we got the land, we sent out the email to all of the people who were trying to buy the first one but didn't buy it quick enough, and then it sold out. So we sent out the email, was like, hey, we just got a new acre, so we got 8 more plots. And by the time we did the live, we were down to 4. And then on the live, somebody sent in their signed their contract and sent in their money. So then we were down to 3. So that's where we're at now. We got 3 left. Don't expect them to be there by the end of next week. So that's how that works. And that's why there's a limit, unfortunately. However, if you're interested in the bond ladder, especially like if you're interested in coming on as like a trust fund client and then having the bond ladder fund your trust fund instead of you living off of it as a relocation client, bond ladders are available all day long until the bonds, you know, bounce back to regular interest rates, and then you're only getting like 7% ROI and 6% ROI and all of that. Then you got to take a different look at it. But even our generational wealth clients that are doing the trust funds, the 6 to 7% is fine for them because they're not living off of it. The people who are really going to be affected by the bond correction are going to be the people who want to move here and live off the bond income. Those are the people who are going to be mostly affected by the bond correction. Good question, though. No, the bonds are not in U.S. currency, and we typically don't recommend trying to repatriate it just for the sake of like living off of it. If you have other investments and you're like, doing that kind of thing, like you're reinvesting, that's different. But if you can't duplicate the ability to live off the bond income here with the lower cost of living and all of that stuff here, repatriating the money back to the U.S. because it'll be 50,000 here, and it'll spend like about 20,000. As far as your needs are concerned, luxuries tend to be the same price. So like a diamond watch here is going to cost the same as a diamond because the price of diamonds is international, and the price of gold and the price of platinum. You know what I mean? So like luxury stuff tends to be the same price. It's your cost of living though is based on like your needs. So like what do your utilities cost? What does a grocery store cost? What does it cost for a dozen eggs? You know what I mean? Like a dozen eggs here costs less than 50 cents for all of the dozen eggs, right? So stuff like that is what feeds into your, you know, your cost of living. What does it cost to fill up your gas at the gas tank? Like that type of stuff is what feeds into your cost of living. So here, if you have, you know, the spending power of $20,000, you know, in the local currency unit of 50,000, you're gonna be just fine. Um, you know, you're like I said, if you go into like luxury items, like if you buy like a new iPhone, it's an import. So the price of the iPhone is the price of the iPhone, right? It's not a special price in Kenya, right? So you're gonna pay the exact same amount, right? Like people buy an iPhone and they pay like it's like 300,000 Kenyan shillings for the iPhone, right? so so those things are all, you know, the same number. But your cost of living as far as like the stuff you need, you know, just to live, way lower. And the cost of help is way lower as well. So like having your maid, having a chauffeur if you want, having a private chef, having all of those things, very affordable. So cost of living and then lifestyle, very different. We had a governess here working with our son since he was born, so almost 2 years. And then she wanted to start a business, and she asked us, and so we helped her start the business or whatever. But that means that we lost the governess. And so the I'm listen, the quality of lifestyle immediately changed without the governess here. So you know we're working on replacing her, but you know lifestyle when you have help, a lifestyle is a completely different situation. Yeah, no, we wouldn't get in the way of anybody's, you know, progression. She wanted to try a business. We actually even took her to, if you go to my personal, oh, you're not even asking a question on TikTok. All right, if you go to TikTok and find my personal TikTok, not the business TikTok, um, you can see like everything that we were doing with that. But we ended up like taking her to China and finding her suppliers and like all that. Like we really helped her set up her business. So we don't stand in the way of anybody's progress. You know what I mean? But we definitely feel the loss. But you know, that's always been our philosophy with any employees is like if they want to do something with their life and we can help them do it, then that's what we do. It's just an investment in humanity. But I digress. Back to the topic at hand. The house, it's a two. You want to see it? Let me see. Maybe I can show it to you on TikTok. So you'll have to head over to TikTok if you want to see it. It's really difficult. I cannot show it to you on Facebook, and it looks kind of horrible on YouTube because YouTube like zooms in on any picture that you upload, and so you can never really see the entire image. But the house that has been designed specifically for this purpose. Let me see if I can find it here. There it is. All right, so that is the house that comes with the end of year package. There we go. That is the house that comes with the end of year package. So it's 2 stories. It's bigger. It's a little bit bigger than 1,600 square feet. There is a office downstairs, a kitchen, of course, and a living room. We were talking about that balcony the other day. So there you can see the balcony on the second floor. Then there are um, two bedrooms with in-suite bathrooms, so 2 bedrooms with 2 bathrooms on the inside. on the second floor, and like a family room on the second floor as well. It's kind of like a second living room on the second floor. A lot of folks end up using it as like a library because you already have the office, and the office is the same size as the master bedroom, and it has a bathroom. So some people end up turning the office into a third bedroom. So they have a bedroom on the first floor and then two bedrooms on the second floor. So that's possible as well, obviously. So yeah, that is the design. All of the pieces of that design were pre-priced with our Chinese partners, and so that's how we can offer the great price that we can offer. So if you start changing this and you move yourself out of the special, because then we don't have pre-pricing on that. Diaspora Freedom Initiative. It's Diaspora Freedom Initiative everywhere. But yeah, Diaspora Freedom Initiative on TikTok as well. I'll wait. It's up. I'm not taking the picture down. Take your time and I don't know if you have to like download the app or whatever. I hate like sending people to certain apps because it doesn't. That's not like it benefits me in any way. It's just the other apps don't have the same level of technology, I guess. So it's really difficult for me to show you guys pictures on these other apps because they're just not updated for the showing of pictures. I can do a little bit on YouTube, but there's no way to like crop the image on the green screen on YouTube. At least no way that I know of. So when I put the picture up, yeah, I can't like pinch it or anything. Oh, I can pinch myself. That's ridiculous. All right, but so yeah, I can't control how it displays the image, and so it always centers it. It always shows you like the very middle of it, and then you don't really get to see it all. So TikTok is definitely the best app as far as showing people images and stuff like that. All right, you see it? All right, great, great. So yeah, that's it. So that is the home. I actually like it. Where I'm actually building one for myself right now. So I like it enough that I'm living in it. So yeah, in the same area as the rest of you guys. Like I'm building a house in that same area right now. So all of the people who take advantage of the end of year special will actually be like my physical neighbors. They'll all be in the same area. So yeah, I like it enough that I personally, with my 21-month-old baby, like my new baby, it's safe enough for us to live there with the new kid. I like it enough that I myself have bought in, and I myself am building this exact house. Like I didn't modify, building this exact house in that area. So yeah, I'll be there too. Yeah, it's a 5 minute drive from the beach. It's a 15-minute walk. So that's nice. I've been trying to lose 20 pounds, and the beach is a big part of that. So every morning, I'll probably be down at the beach. And then there's a nice little like bike trail and all of that stuff. Yeah, it's unfortunate living consciously. The issue is the government bonds you can't finance because it's a government bond. So you just have to, buy them. So that has to be cash. You can't finance immigration, right? And immigration is part of the package. So that has to be cash. You know what I mean? So it ends up being that like you just can't finance it. At least you can't finance it with us. Plenty of our clients do finance it, but they don't like it's not through us. It's not like a program that we offer. But we have plenty of clients that do finance stuff like this, especially American clients. Because the whole point of that, for them is if they're relocating here and they now live here, and they're not necessarily worried about things like, you know, credit reports and all of that back home. What they'll do is they'll give a good faith effort to do something here. Like maybe they want to do an Airbnb, or maybe they want to do whatever. Like they'll roll the dice and they'll try it just like you would try any business back home. But the difference is if it fails while you're here and you file a bankruptcy while you're here, then it doesn't actually affect anything here, right? So if you file a bankruptcy on a loan that you took to give a shot at, you know, relocation or whatever, and your ability to repay that loan legitimately fails, you know, after you've given it a shot, and so you get with your bankruptcy attorney and you decide to file bankruptcy, yeah, your credit shot for 7 or 10 years in the U.S., but you don't live in the U.S. anymore. So you're sitting pretty here with a brand new house, brand new car, brand new all of that, you know. I'll have a bankruptcy discharge that, you know, is going to fall off of your credit in 7 or 10 years, depending on which restructuring you use. But it doesn't matter at all because credit is not international. A lot of people think it is. I don't know why they think it is, but it's not. So it doesn't affect you here to have a blemish on your credit in a country you don't live in anymore, right? So there's a lot of folks. Now, a lot of folks also take financing and are able to pay it back, right? Like we built some houses down the way. Actually, I can probably show you that. They're really, really nice. Let me see if I have that image. But we built some houses down the way for some clients, and those houses are really nice. They're 6 bedroom, and they go for $500 a night on Airbnb. And so they took loans, and they came here with loans to do that, and then it worked out for them that they were actually able to pay back the loans because they were making so much money in US dollars here in Kenya. They were actually able to pay back the loans, and they didn't have to file bankruptcy. It felt easier for them because they had the safety net of bankruptcy in case anything, you know, went awry. So they definitely appreciated that bankruptcy was on the table. They just didn't have to actually do it. Where are the pictures of those houses? Let's see here. If you're sending me you're sending me a message on TikTok right now. I'm bringing up the pictures so I can't see it just yet. Let's see. Oh, I can't green screen video. I got a lot of video of it, but I can't put that on the background, unfortunately. Let's see. I'm sure I have some stills. I need to start putting this stuff in like a special folder so I can find it all faster. Let's see. Well, you wouldn't recognize that. That's a construction picture. Let me find the finished product picture. I'm getting closer. If I'm seeing the construction pictures, I'm getting closer to it. The before and afters are wild. Way too many pictures in this device. I'll have to deal with that. Let's see. Jeez. This thing is killing me. Okay, that's inside. Give me an exterior picture. Uh-oh, what was that? There. All right, awesome. Okay, so this is what they got down the road there. Sorry that took so long. And so these guys are 5 bedrooms, and they go on Airbnb for 500 a night during peak season anyway. 550, which is peak season right now. So they were able to do the whole thing with bank financing or credit union financing or whoever they finance it through, and they were able to pay back that financing in like 3 or 4 years just because of how much money the Airbnbs make. So yeah, that the option is there. And the bankruptcy safety net definitely helps. But yeah, the option is there. Yes, every single one of those have a private pool. Yep. It's really nice. I mean, if you're paying $550 a night, it got to be, you know. And this kind of boils down into like you get out of it what you put into it, right? So our end of the year special, it's 185. You get the house that we had in the last picture and all of that stuff. All right, fine, great. But these folks put like 400,000 into the house, right? And so, but they ended up making enough money that they could pay it off. They could pay off the loan, which is obviously more than the principal, right? So they could pay off the loan in 5 years. So, people who are getting like $170,000 house, they're not getting the kind of Airbnb income that allows them to pay that off in 5 years. So it's one of those things of like go big or go home. So that's what they did, and they're golden. They have like 4 of them now. And the other 3 were cheaper because they were able to use economy of scale. So if you build a bunch of things at the same time, then you can essentially get like bulk discounts. So we could like go to our supplier and be like, we're buying 3 houses worth of tiles. We're buying 3 houses worth of toilets. We're buying 3 houses worth of windows, and then we can shrink that number. So, and they were pissed. Well, like kicking themselves in the butt, pissed, right? They'd be like, we should have just built all 4 of them at the same time. Because when they came back and did the 3, instead of paying another like 450 per house, they ended up paying like, man, it was like 310. You know what I mean? Like it went all the way down to like 310 per. So if they would have had all 4, it probably would have even been like 200 something per house, which is crazy. You know what I mean? If you paid 280 for a house like that, 6 bedrooms, all bedrooms are in suite, so 6 bedrooms with 6 in suite bathrooms. You know what I mean? And then there were 2 half baths. There's a half bath on the roof there, and there's a half bath downstairs, for guests. And then you have the private pool, you have the gazebo that you can see off in the corner over there, you have the manicure garden, you have all of that. So really, really nice setup. And, they ended up with 4, but they paid the biggest price for the first one because, you know, they only built that one. So it does make more sense if you have the ability to, which they actually did, which is why they kicked themselves in the butt for it. But if you have the ability to like finance them all locally, it makes more sense to finance everything. We just had a family of 12, and they came in and they did like 7 buildings. It's like 5 houses, but then they have like a basketball court that's actually inside, right? So they have an indoor like basketball court. They have a barbershop on their property. They have some outdoor stuff like tennis courts outdoors and stuff like that as well. They got kennels because they brought 5 dogs with them and 3 cats. So they got kennels and all of that stuff. And so, yeah. But what they paid for all of that, and like 3 or 4 acres of land was like essentially nothing. But they did it all at the same time. They didn't change materials, because if you change materials, you can lose the economy of scale. The economy of scale works when you're getting the same thing. So they have the same tile in all buildings. They have the same faucets, in all bathrooms. They have the same kitchen sinks, as far as the working. They have different shapes, but as far as like the actual physical sink and the faucet that comes off it and the little spray nozzle and all of that stuff, it's all the same. And so because they were willing to do that, they saved big bucks. The whole thing was like 1.3 million. So now think about that for a minute. You got 5 houses, right? So if each house was 200,000, you're already at a million, right? So you got five houses, but you got 7 buildings. And then outside of the buildings, you have outdoor pools, tennis courts. The basketball court was inside, but there's another court that they had, some kind of other court. They had tennis courts. Oh, they had an archery range, and that which was also outside, because the guy does like Olympic style, like archery or whatever. And so you got all of that going on. So now if you look at the buildings, right, and you got the 7 buildings, even if one of them is, the basketball, court, and you don't want to count that, you got 6 buildings at 200,000 each. You're already at 1.2 million. That says nothing about the solar generator backup pack that they have. That says nothing about that 4 acres near the beach that they got. Like, it was a crazy price. And they were telling me that they had sketched this out in somewhere in Central Texas somewhere. It wasn't like Dallas or something like that. It was a place in Texas I never heard of. And they had sketched all this out to do it there, and it was something like $30 million. Right? So that's crazy. From 30 million to one, that's nuts. So you can do like really cool things if you have economy of scale. They were family. We've had people in the past, like we had a barbershop group where like the guys, I guess they were just in the barbershop like talking about it or whatever. And they ended up approaching us as an LLC. So all of the guys were owners of the LLC, like equal owners in the LLC, and I guess they put up equal money, and then they were able to come in, and they did, I think it was 5 houses. So they came in, they did 5 houses, and the 5 houses were less than $600,000 for 5 houses on an acre. Remember, you can do 8 on an acre, because typically your standard plot is a 50 by 100. And so on a 50 by 100, you could throw up a house. So these were 5 guys. They got a full acre, so they were able to have like a community pool and all of that stuff. And so they put up 5 houses. It was like 600,000. Crazy, crazy. It's like $110,000 a house. And these aren't little houses. These are like 4-bedroom houses. So yeah, if you got a team, you can do some pretty cool things. No, you want to see the type of house that they got? It wasn't this one. Let me show you. The type of house they got. Where is it at? I think it's in here. It looked like. There it is. It looks like this. That's the type that they got. So these are 4-bedroom, 2 stories. There's an outdoor, you can't see the back, but there's an outdoor kitchen and an indoor kitchen. So the outdoor kitchen is like a barbecue kitchen, and it's outside, but there's like a glass roof that's like covering it on the back side there. But yeah, really nice. So imagine, because there's 5 of you together, you end up paying like 110,000 for that house. It's crazy. It really is beautiful, actually. What about Airbnbs? Let me show you that. So the last Airbnb, this one we actually just did Let me see. I might be able to show you an aerial view of that one. Let me see if I can find that real quick here. Yeah, that's an aerial view of it actually. Is it? Wait, no, that's a different property. Let me see if I can find the duplex. Is that it? This thumbnail is so small. Is that it? Let's see. Um, Actually, it's off on the corner. On the right side of the screen, that was during construction. The one that's directly in front of you is a 3 bedroom with a family entertainment center on the roof. And that was during construction as well, but that construction was almost done. So the one off to the right is the duplex. Yeah. Long time, sir. How your family doing? Hey, we're good, man. Yeah. Thanks for asking. We're good. How are you and your family doing? Let me see if I can get that duplex in here. What was that? What do we got? Okay. This was the duplex. Also, while it was under construction, it's constructed now. So, on the right side of that is the pool. So that pool is being constructed, and there's a bunch of kind of landscaping going on around it. That is a 6 bedroom, 6 and 2 half bath. It was like 350,000 for the whole thing, including the land and the immigration, because you need an investor permit to run an Airbnb legally. So that client has an investor's permit, and they're able to do legal, legal work in Kenya, and then they're able to like enter and exit Kenya as like a citizen. They can just come and go as they please, and all of that because they have the permit. Yeah, we did a beach hotel. So yeah, we do like little hotels and stuff. George, why is it asking me to invite you? You trying to come up, George? Is that you? Let me see. Sorry, I don't always pay attention to like the invites, brother. No, I don't see it. All right. Guess it was just telling me to invite you because you came in. But you can come up if you want, man. You're always welcome, brother. Yeah, sorry. The imaging thing on some of these other streams is horrible. So it's really, really difficult for me to sometimes show you guys on these other streams these pictures. But the way that the picture works on TikTok, at least the one that I'm using, is like the people can't see me anymore. So here I can show you what it looks like just by showing you the camera there. Oh, sorry, the green screen is up. Let me turn that off. My bad. Okay, there you go. So, can you see? So that's what they're seeing on the TikTok side. Yeah, you're welcome. I wish I could show it to you on the YouTube side there, but just the technology is not technologying. So yeah, that's what that looks like. Let me go back to what you actually get in the end of year special versus showing things that are not in the end of year special, and maybe having people thinking that they are. That's me and my kung fu instructor. Sorry about that. There you go. So that is the house that's included in the actual end of year. Let me go ahead and show you guys on YouTube that, I guess. Can you guys, let me make sure I get this angle right. There you go. So that is the house that's included in the end of year. Right. 2 bedroom, actually 2 bedroom, 3.5 bath. There are technically like 2 living rooms. So the living room on the second floor and on the first floor, and then kitchen, of course, dining room and all that stuff. So not a bad design at all. Not a bad design at all, especially for the money. What's all included? Trust fund is included. Bond ladder is included. That'll create 50,000 local currency per month in passive income, so you have something to live off of. Immigration is included. The house and the land is included. Tax compliance is included, and so yeah, you're essentially fully set up. Got all your permits and all of that. You got your house. You own your land. You got 50,000 a month coming in passive income that you don't have to do anything for the next 10 years. So yeah, pretty nice. It ends February 15th. Yeah, 50,000 Kenyan shillings. Yeah, local currency. That's the target. No one has ever gotten the target, right? So the closest to the target anyone has ever come is it's 60,000 gross, but then after the withholding tax, it was 54,000. So that's the closest to the 50,000 anyone's ever come. We have some clients that in certain months each rung on the bond ladder, so each bond on the bond ladder pays out twice a year. So there's 6 of them on each ladder. So like last year's February bond pays 93,000 a month, so almost double our target. This is interesting and motivating. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know if you remember, but we were in China for a little over a month, 2 months ago, and so we were able to negotiate deals on the materials needed to build this house. So that's what really put us in a position to be able to price it so amazingly. What's the house typically go for? 170. If you're getting the entire package for 185, and were you to buy the house by itself, it would be 170. Excuse me. Got this cough happening. At least it's a productive cough, so at least it's not dry. You've been following the live, so it was worse a couple of days ago. Yeah, I'm sure you're right. I'm sure it was worse a couple of days ago. There was like a live highlight that Facebook like made. You know, they do it automatically. And I was like coughing on the live highlight. That's not it. Bingo. Was when Madam was still. I wonder why it did that. I don't see anything wrong with your comment there, Shaban, but it definitely blocked it. I can turn it on though. Huh. Yeah, I'll approve it. I don't know why it blocked that comment. There you go. Yep, she definitely was. Let's see. We handle that. The law firm handles that. Any of your immigration situations, our law firm handles that. So you don't have to worry about that. No, there's no such thing. There's a permit that you qualify for. So if you don't qualify for like the one you want, then we'll just get you a different permit that you do qualify for. If that's true, then you don't qualify for this at all. That's right. Right. So if you're focused on the Class K permit, which requires $2,000 a month in guaranteed income, and an age of 35, then the issue becomes how are you affording a $185,000 house? So anyone who's actually qualified for this buy is putting up 185,000, which means they have the 100,000 required for the investor permit. So even if you don't qualify for the residency permit, since what you're buying is over 100,000, you would immediately qualify for an investor permit. See how that works. So the, anyone who's talking like if they don't get a Class K, then they can't do it. Actually, can't do it at all because that means that you don't have the 100,000 to qualify for the Class G, which means you definitely ain't got 185,000 to qualify for this program. So, can a foreigner buy land and can yeah. Yep. Their interest in the land is leasehold, but they can buy land in Kenya. No, a leasehold is not a lease. Don't get caught up in that. A lot of foreigners get scammed into that nonsense where people will give them a lease and it's not a leasehold, it's a lease. So you don't actually own the property. They'll write up a contract for a 99-year lease and all of that nonsense, but it's still their property. So they can still go to the bank and take a loan out against your property and all of that stuff. So don't fall for that foolishness. That's something that happens because we don't have leasehold tenure in most of the Western countries. So when we hear a lease, we think like renting, but a leasehold is not a lease. You still have absolute ownership of that land just for the tenure of the leasehold. And under the current law, you get an automatic renewal. So it's technically like 198 years. The only difference is, and this is the one way to kind of know if you're being scammed or not. Typically, you're not going to get a brand new leasehold unless you're going through the conversion process, which you would know about because the conversion process has a cost to it. So you would be paying an extra cost to convert a freehold to a leasehold. So you would know if you were going through the conversion process. The leasehold time starts at the creation of the title deed, not when you buy it. So the issue becomes if you're buying something and your 99 years starts when you buy it, then you're probably being scammed. So whenever the title deed was created, that's when the 99 years started. So you can buy a leasehold and it'll only be 10 years left on it. But the good news is you get one renewal if you file your paperwork on time. So you have to file it a certain number of months before the lease is up and all of that. But you'll get that one renewal. So even if you are looking at a leasehold and there's only 5 years left, that's fine. As long as it's not 1 year left, because if it's 1 year, then you might miss that window to do the renewal. Definitely, if it's under 1 year, they might be trying to sell it because they effed up the renewal window, and then they're gonna lose it. Kenya hasn't been independent long enough for it to be the second renewal, so nobody has to worry about that. Good question, though. I see you're using your head, but Kenya's only been independent for like 60 years. Ah, I appreciate you are an early riser. I hear you. I appreciate that too. What happens when the lease? Oh, yep, I just explained that. And it's not a lease; it's a leasehold tenure. That's a description of your legal interest in the land, right? It's not a sales mechanism, right? A lease is a sales vehicle. The issue is just that we're not used to that legalese in the West for the most part. So you hear leasehold, you think lease, but it's not a lease. If you're getting a lease, that's a whole different thing, and the price should reflect that. That's where the scam comes in. Like, you can lease a place for 99 years, but the price should reflect that you don't own it, right? Instead of paying like you own it, and then what you're really doing is leasing it, and you don't own it at all. Yes. Hello. Yeah, no, you have full 100%, because when you do an actual leasehold, there's no person who is like your landlord. When you look at the leasehold, it'll say the government of Kenya, and it'll be either the federal government or the county government. Federal leaseholds are better. Um, and then it'll say the government of Kenya, and it'll say that you own it on your, certificate of lease, essentially. Um, if there's a person on there, then not necessarily that you're getting scammed, but if you think you're getting a leasehold and a person or a company's name is on the documentation you're signing, then it's not. They're actually leasing it to you, so like you don't own anything. It's a different situation. But I guarantee you, they ain't doing no repairs. It's not like you have a landlord and you can call them to come fix the toilet. Like, they're playing with you because they know that you don't understand the difference between a lease and a leasehold. Oh yeah, then on top of that, they end up charging you monthly because they'll give you a lease in what they call the serviced community. So you have to pay the service fee every month on this property that you don't even own, and then you may or may not get very much for the service fee, right? Like, they might have a service fee, but are they collecting your garbage once a week? Are they mowing your lawn for you? Like, what's the service? Just some guy at the gate, some security guard at the gate? That's what you're paying the service fee for? So, it's a matter of, we don't do any of that. We're Diaspora Freedom Initiative. You have freedom from additional fees. You have freedom from taxes. You have freedom from unnecessary bills. Like, that's our focus. So we don't ever, sell anything with a service fee. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's like an HOA thing. And the other problem becomes sometimes, you end up not having a say in the management company, right? So some places that are a little bit more on the up and up, they'll at least attach a share of the management company to the title deed. So when you buy a place there, you have a vote on the management company that you're paying the service fees to. So they can't just up the price of the service without taking a vote of all the people who live there. But that's not necessarily normal, right? That's something that might happen if you're working with like a really reputable whatever, but that's it's not like that's standard. So you might be there, there might be a management company there, and you're paying the service fee to that management company, but yet you have no say in that company whatsoever. And if that company starts making a profit, you're not profit sharing in that company that's making a profit off of your service fees. Whereas the places that give you an actual share, if there is an additional profit, that would go back to the homeowners, right? So, you know, it's just a matter of knowing what to look for. That's why we own an entire law firm out here. No, there's it's an application fee. It's an application fee. When you renew the leasehold, there's just if you do it on time, right? If you do it on time, the only thing that you're paying is there's an application fee and there's a stamp duty. You're not like buying the country the country. You're not buying the property over again. So you'll do the application fee and the stamp duty, and that'll be the end of that. Yeah, it's discipline. Discipline. You're right though. It's not easy to get up that early, but it's discipline. And then on the U.S. side of things, it's like I don't know what is it over there right now. East Coast is like 11 o'clock. For me, Kenya was the right place because there was no learning curve. So there was no learning curve that I had to go through. Like I had some friends that were attracted to Tanzania. Ooh, are they going through it right now? But they went to Tanzania for what I don't know. I guess it was like a vibes thing, you know. And so they visited and like they liked the vibe, and so they moved there, and like the nightmare. So if you don't speak Swahili, it's really tough. Um, they're passing laws against foreigners owning businesses out there. So a lot of people had like set themselves up, had their permits, had their business, had all of that. And then Tanzania just dropped this new law where they restricted 15 classes from foreigners. And it's one thing if it was like, we're restricting mining. Okay, fine. They restricted small business, right? So it's like, what? Right? So like Hilton's allowed to come create a hotel, no problem in Tanzania, but you're not allowed to have an Airbnb. You know, so the way they're doing stuff is just ridiculous. So definitely do your due diligence on which country you pick. They also don't have dual citizenship. So you would have to give up your U.S. citizenship to become a Tanzanian. Who would do that? Even with the nonsense going on in the United States right now, there's no incentives in place, right? Singapore is similar. They don't have dual citizenship, but they have incentives in place. So if you give up your citizenship and you become a Singaporean, you get a ton of benefits. It actually makes sense, especially if you're building generational wealth. But there's no incentives in place. So you just got to figure out like what makes the most sense to you, you know. But they're really going through it because and the funky part is the Tanzanian people that are affected by it are also going through it. Because like this guy that I'm thinking of specifically, he had like an orphanage, he had a basketball camp, and he was like employing over 1,000 Tanzanians, and now they're all unemployed. You know what I mean? Because the government wanted to restrict, business ownership. So it's I don't even understand it. I'm not sure they understand it. But you gotta deal with countries that have common sense. Are any existing clients open to doing an interview one day? It would help to hear firsthand. Yeah, you're looking on YouTube, right? You're on the YouTube stream? Yeah, you're on the YouTube stream. Yeah, go to the YouTube. There's an interview with Tim. Right after we built his house and relocated him here. He's a relocation client. The clients that are not open to interviews, unfortunately, are the generational wealth clients. And they have attorney-client privilege because we set up their trust fund and all of that stuff. And it's funny, we did a trust fund client yesterday, and they were like, "Oh, can you get what did they ask for? What was it? They were like, can you give me references? They were like, can you give me references of like people you've worked with in the past?" And we're like, so okay, our all of our clients have attorney-client privilege. It does come up sometimes, so we request that people who want those types of references also sign a release that the next person who wants references, you waive the attorney-client privilege so we can give them your number and you can be a reference as well. Stop asking for references immediately. So like when you're building generational wealth and you're building a trust fund that's going to compound to $1 million in the next 15, 20 years, like you don't tell people about it, right? And so like those folks, it's really funny because they always ask to speak to people and they want these interviews, but then we're like, all right, cool, yeah, we'll get an interview, but you need to also be available for an interview because we need to keep the social proof going. All of a sudden they don't need an interview anymore. So on that side of the business, it's really difficult for us to get people to be like, yeah, I set up $1 million trust for my kids and it's in this country. And so if you want to come after me and sue me, now you know where my trust fund is. So that's why on that side, people are just not into it. But on the relocation side, where people, they're just moving here and there's not a whole bunch of, legal stuff happening where they're setting up their future for their families and all of that, those are the people who do like the interviews. So yeah, you can definitely go look through the YouTube and you'll see it there. I'm not sure if it's on TikTok. But TikTokers are different. You guys never ask for that, but YouTubers do ask for that often. So it's there. You can go listen to the firsthand accounts. And we'll do more of those. Like right now, we're really focused on generational wealth. So our 2026, we're focused on doing 100 new generational wealth trust out here and all of that. So I don't know how many 2026ers are going to do interviews, but somebody eventually will. Like somebody will eventually be like, yeah, I'll sign off on that, and then and we do have like one or two people who are like willing to talk to other people, but we want to keep that social proof going. So we've kind of made it a policy that like if somebody asks for that, they themselves have to be willing to do it. Yeah, he's in there. Yeah, check him out. He's still here actually. So he some people go back and forth. He doesn't. He's permanently here. So good times for him. We built actually you couldn't see it because you're on the YouTube side, but the house that we just put up on TikTok, that the house with the entertainment center on the family theater on the roof, is his house. Cool dude. If you move to the beach here, you'll definitely get to meet him. Very cool dude. Yes, we do wherever. Like we've built houses in Kisi, we built houses in Naivasha, we built houses in Kisumu, we built houses in Kakamega, we've built houses where else? In Malindi, we've built houses in Watamu. It's like we'll do anywhere, but we're focused on the beach. Simply because a lot of folks end up looking or needing, depending on the situation, to make some money eventually. And then they typically turn to like Airbnb because it's, if they already have a house, it's like the simplest thing to do. And here at the beach is one of the few places where you can make money in US dollars because it's already a tourist area, right? And it gives you a little bit of a softer landing than like a Kakamega or whatever. I mean, Nairobi is essentially New York, so you can find whatever you want there. But it's essentially New York, so things are more expensive there. You know what I mean? So, it's just a give and take of what you're looking for. Like, for example, my friend Kia, who owns Traverse Culture, her I think she said her rent was, and she said this publicly on a live, so I'm okay repeating it. But I think she said that her rent was like 160,000 a month, right? Whereas you can rent a place down here for like 90, right? But remember, on the end of your special thing, your passive is 50, right? So how does that work? It works because you own a house. It works because we built you the house in that picture if you're on TikTok that you're seeing right now. Because once you have the house, that cuts that big chunk out of your cost of living. And then like it's only your spending, which is typically under 50. Especially if you're solo or you just have one kid or something like that. For renting, yeah, you can go up to one. You can go up to 100. Like I said, it's about 90, but 100 is luxury. But yeah, you can go up to 100 in the Annie here. But if you own your own house and you're getting 50,000 a month from the government, you can absolutely be fine on that because now you're not paying rent. And at the house, you have a borehole, so you're not paying for water. If you have a solar system set up, you're not even paying for electric, and you don't get any power outages because you have the solar system with the backup on it. So that's what it is. It's an age thing between YouTube versus. May that might be it. That might be it. I like the YouTubers better. Anyway, don't tell the TikTok. YouTube, YouTube. You guys ask better questions. Definitely, definitely. You have the link to the TikTok stream. Yeah, it's at Diaspora Freedom. So it's like TikTok.com/@ Diaspora Freedom. And it should pop. Like I'm live right now on there, so it should pop up. I don't know if I can. Let me see. I might be able to like share a direct link here. Oh, look at that. I think I can. Mm. Oh, that's okay. That's not. Wait a minute. How do I chat? I can remove a comment. I can pin a message. How do I send the message? Huh. Maybe I can't. That's odd. Chat filter, top messages, community moderation. What does the plus sign do? Start a poll, start a Q&A. Huh. I guess I can do it as a poll. No, ain't letting me do that. Guess people have tried to do that in the past. I'm not sure I can like chat to you. Huh. It's not letting me. Nope, not letting me do it that way either. Yeah, I don't think I can actually make comments on YouTube. So another thing I just found out that I can't do, which sucks. So yeah, I can't send you the link. But yeah, that's what it is. TikTok.com. Like if you're going to it like on a web, it's gonna be TikTok.com/@ Diaspora Freedom. If you're on the app, just search Diaspora Freedom Initiative and it should pop up. And if there's multiple when you search it, let me know. Because when they like set up fake accounts, they block you. So I don't know. That account has like 10,000 followers, so I think that's when they start copying you. So, but it'll be the one that's live. Encourage more viewers to share the live and tap the screen. Okay. TikTok says tap the screen and share the live. That's another good thing about TikTok. That doesn't happen on Facebook or YouTube. where it like tells you what to do or tells you like what to tell the viewers to do and all of that stuff. Also, it'll show me sometimes. I don't know what triggers it, but sometimes it'll show me who's like watching, who's not in the room, which is interesting. Like it'll tell me there are 15 streamers watching in the FYP, or like yeah, right now it just showed it to me. So there's 8 viewers. I don't know what triggers that. So there's like 4 people in the room, and it's telling me there's 8 people like watching, but they're not coming in the room. Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, it shows you who's watching from the FP. It doesn't give you the name. No, like you can click on it when it shows it to you, but then it gives you like analytics. It doesn't tell you the names per se, but it definitely tells you the number. It tells you exactly how many people are watching. So I guess that's a metric. Don't know how you would control that metric, but I guess it is a metric in the algorithm. Can you open a bit? Yes, you can open a business, but you need an investor permit to do it. Yeah, it sounds like a permit to buy stocks, but it's not. You can buy stocks with no permit. It's just that's just what they call the permit. It's an investor permit. With the investor permit, you can open a business. Without the investor permit, you can't. Now you're not supposed to. Gotta go. Thanks for sure. Yeah, no problem. Without the investor permit, you can't like work for someone else though. You need a work permit for that. And work permits are sponsored by companies that already exist. You can't make your own company and then sponsor yourself, not legally anyway. So so you need a work permit to work for somebody else. An investor permit is to own a business. It's not that either is better. Work permits are technically cheaper because typically your employer has to pay for it. So work permits could be cheaper in that regard. But what you're getting paid might not be that great. So, there's that. And if you get fired, your permit uh, goes with the job going. And you can't like take your work permit and just go get another job. Like people do, but you're not supposed to. The new company is supposed to apply for a new permit for you. So there's that. I think I can find it. No problem. All right, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I hate to take you off of YouTube. I think there's probably more like solid information on YouTube, but like when people ask me for documentation and I'm like showing a document or I'm showing a picture, it's just so hard to read on YouTube versus what you get on TikTok. Yeah, it's like this is the hottest season now. It's about like 90 degrees or whatever on a daily basis. As you can see, there's typically a pretty good wind. So currently for me, it feels like it's like 75 right now for me because that wind is blowing. So you can see I'm not sweating or anything like that. I haven't got anything like that going on. So for right now, especially with that wind, it feels like about 75. And that if you're looking at the picture on TikTok of the house, that balcony gets the ocean breeze really good. There's a perimeter wall. It's like a fence. It's like a fence around the house. So on the downstairs porch, there might be some breeze, but it's not like, you get a full on ocean breeze. But on that second floor, which is higher than the fence, obviously, that one, you get a really nice ocean breeze there. If it wasn't for the trees, you'd like see the water. Like there's like trees in the way. Just like the 500 a night places that I was talking about. If it wasn't for these trees behind me, you could actually see them from here. Well, yeah, I mean it's 6 bedroom. Now one of the bedrooms is what's called a DSQ, so it's like a detached apartment. But in the house it's 5 bedroom. So if you got, think about it, if it's 5 married couples, you got a 5 bedroom house with a private pool and all of that, right? So it's 10 people, 5 married couples. You're talking about paying $50, per person per night, and you got a mini mansion, right? So that's why it makes such great money. You can come with your friends and like whatever. Even if it's 2 couples, you know, you're still talking about real decent money. It's like 125 a person per night at the beach. So yeah, pretty decent. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yep. And you just got to position yourself for, whatever it is you want to get into. A lot of folks don't want to get into anything, and that's where the bond ladder is really, if they can get the passive income going, then cool, then they're ready to rock. And there's been quite a few people, like Roth people are really solid with it, where they'll take their contribution from the Roth. If you take your contribution, there's no penalty, right? Because if it's a Roth, then it's after taxes, right? So you've already paid taxes on that money, so you can take your money back out, no penalty. It's what the account made. So like the money that the account is making hasn't been taxed yet. So if you touch that, that's where you get like a penalty or whatever. But there's a lot of folks that'll reach into the Roth, just pull that out, and do it that way, and just essentially retire, right? Because maybe they got 20 more years to retire in the United States, but if they do this, they're getting 10 to 20 years of guaranteed income from the Kenyan government, right? So at that point, they just retire, 20 years early, right? Because if they were looking at 40 years to retire and they're 20 years in, right, there might be enough in that Roth or whatever for them to make the move. And then when they make, and they're still got money in there, because remember, the money that the account made, you haven't touched unless you want a penalty, right? And so there's still money in there growing while they're here, um, and the government's kicking them out a check, so it's like they get to retire 20 years early and live at the beach. So there's definitely those folks that do that. A lot of folks, the money makes them feel comfortable, but they maintain whatever they're doing. So a lot of folks have like a business, and they can get like dividends off of that business, and they can work the business virtually, from here. So they're still making income, even though they have the passive income that's hitting their bank account every month. So yeah, there's a lot of folks that just love the concept of having the financial safety net and then not having to worry about money. You know what I mean? It just changes everything. So you get to a place where you don't have to worry about money. It changes your whole life. Trust me, changes your whole life. You want to experience that for sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. The interest rates will go back down eventually, so it's not forever. You don't hear the urgency. We don't put, okay, so there's 2 things. Number one, like I just said, once you don't have to worry about money, things change. So there's that. And then number two, we're just not pushy like that. We try not to tell anybody like what to do. People gotta want to do this, and then they see the solution and they're like, oh, this is what I wanted to do. Didn't know how to do it, or didn't know it was possible to do it this way. Let's go. right? But we're not in the pushy salesman game type of thing. So we don't like, FOMO and create urgency and try to put like no. And those people, the people who require that, are typically bad clients. Like they're typically clients that'll stress you out. So we typically are talking to the people who know what they want. Maybe they just didn't know that this option was available because it's not available everywhere. And even some of the other service providers around here can't provide it because of our vertical integration, because we own a general contractor, because we own our own architect, because we own our own law firm. Like we can do some things differently and we can move a bit faster. And so the folks who know what they want, they come to us and there's no back and forth. Like by the time they come to us, they already know, what they need. We have a consultation. We, design everything to their specifications, and then we just move. The folks that need to be convinced are not ready to work with us, or we're just not the right firm for them. And so, they can go find like a salesman if that's what they need, somebody to push them into it. But that's definitely not what we do. So yes, you're correct that it won't last forever, but we're not necessarily building urgency around that, because if you want to do it, you're going to do it, and if you don't want to do it, you're not. When it's stuff like this, where like you can literally buy it and never work again a day in your life, if there's something for you to think about, it's not for you. Like, if I could offer you the ability to retire and live in comfort and have everything that you want provided for you and get a check every month and you don't even have to work, and that's what you want, then there's no question. So if you're questioning it, it's not what you want. That's not what you want to do. That's exactly right. That's why we sold out so quickly the first time, because it's just, you know. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there were some salty folks. Sound like you might be one of them. There were some salty folks because we sent out the email. If you are one of them and you're not on the email list, definitely get on that, because when we sent out the email to everybody, like, hey, we got another acre, like within an hour, plots were gone. And like they didn't even respond to the email. They had already been in the pipeline for the first one that sold out, so they already had their contract. Like they literally like went out, signed the contract, got it notarized, and like sent in the contract and wired their money. And it was like, oh, all right, these four are gone. So like there were definitely people who were like, I'm gonna do it next week. And then it sold out. So yeah, when it came back open, they were not playing. So definitely, if that, because it kind of sounds like you experienced the sellout. So if that's it, and you didn't get an email from us, then you're gonna want to email us or like get on the email list. You can. So we had some old folks that were like, we don't want to climb steps. So we like worked with our contractor to have the same level of tiles and all of that. Hey, what's going on, Milka? So there is a rancher design for folks who can't go up and down steps that we've been able to fit in to the same pricing schema. So yes, we can do a flat. Now it's a rancher, it has like the same level of space as this double decker, right? So that means you're losing more space in the plot. With this design, you can have a backyard and you can have a pool and you can have a front yard, like you have space. When you get into the rancher, you can still have a pool, but it would be like a backyard pool and there wouldn't be a ton of space. So that's what happens when you go that way. But I mean, if it's a mobility issue and you don't want steps, then that's fine. Then we just gotta flatten everything out and you just lose more space in the plot. That's all. But yes, we can do that without changing the price. No, that's a great question. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I should bring it up more. You know what I mean? But we had a bunch of folks that, when they onboarded, they were like, "Hey, what would be the cost?" And in their head, they were like, "All right, I know I'm losing the end of year special by asking for a modification, but like, what would the cost be?" And then we realized, like, well, it's a mobility issue. Like, let's see what we can figure out. And then the contractor was able to be like, "All right, if we design it this way, then the tiles still fit. We can cut everything in and all of that, and we won't have to order anything extra. Therefore, we can still do it at the same price." The hardest thing was the roof because the roof is bigger, so we needed more roofing supplies. But we were able to make up the more roofing supplies that we need, by not needing the extra rebarb for the second floor, and so it kind of worked itself out. But that was tricky. But yeah, we can do it. Yeah, yeah, no problem. All right, guys, it has been an hour and a half. I see the questions are slowing down. Any other questions on this? I'm in Diani Beach, Kenya. Any other questions on that? If I just wanted to do a trust fund and have the bond ladder okay, so have the bond ladder fund the trust fund and accelerate your compounding. Gotcha. 85. It'd be 85. Yep. If that's all you were doing, because we'd have to create the trust. We might have to do a permit for you, even if you don't intend to be here, depending on, that's something that we'd have to figure out in a consultation. And then we'd have to fund the bond. So, yeah. Oh, it dramatically accelerates the compounding. Absolutely. Yeah, we had one trust that, had they just done the trust and left it alone, it would have taken 60 years to get to, $1 million, I think it was. So it had been 60 years of compounding to get to $1 million. But by buying the bonds instead, it was like 20 years. So from 60 years to 20 years, because you got a monthly payment hitting, the trust for essentially all 20 years, right? So yeah, the compounding is crazy, and that payment is being pushed off into diversification at that point because you have the bonds. The bonds were set for the 20 years, so every time you get the payment, then you would create a drip, which is a dividend reinvestment plan, and you would figure out what the percentage of that drip was, and then so, most people were doing an 80% drip. So they're doing an 80% drip into like special funds, and currently those special funds are averaging 20% ROI. So now you might have your 15 or 14% coming from the bonds, but every time the bond pays you, you're taking that money and reinvesting it in something that gives you 20. So you're getting both. You got the 15, that's where the money came from, and then you're getting 20 on top of the 15, and then you compound that, and then you compound that, and so that's why that's why it went from 60 years to 15 years, or from 60 years to 20 years. And it was like 60 years to get 1 million. It's 20 years, and they're projected to have 3.8 million. So it's a very different situation. Yeah. So it is definitely worth it. If you're generational wealth folks, to go ahead and do a generational wealth trust and have the bonds actually feed the trust. Then you're not living off the bond income. Then you're building your generational wealth profile with the bond income. So that's definitely a smart move as well. I drink a lot of water, not enough. Not enough. I should be drinking double the amount of water that I am, unfortunately. But it does keep my throat from getting dry while I'm talking to you guys. Okay. You saw I had Amazon delivery yesterday? Yeah, I get Amazon delivered quite often. Now, well, I only order Amazon for things that are not in this market. That's the only time I order Amazon. Like what? I use a lot of Ninja Shark stuff. So, and they're not in the Amazon market. So, like we have like the creamy, like the ice cream machine for the baby. We have like the combi cooker, which just makes things easy, for cooking meals and like meal prep and that type of stuff. What else do we have? We have the crispy, like the glass air fryer and all that stuff. So we got a bunch of like Ninja. We have the Cafe Lux Pro. So we have like the espresso machine from Ninja and all that stuff. So they're not available on the local market. So we'll Amazon that type of stuff in. But anything available locally, we'll buy locally for sure. Yeah, we end up actually bringing it in from Amazon UK so that the plug fits because there's a different plug than the USA plug. But if you have an Amazon account, you can log into any of the Amazon. So you can log into Amazon Dubai, AUE. You can log into Amazon Australia, Amazon UK. There's an Amazon South Africa now, but they don't all do like international shipping. So even though there's an Amazon South Africa, you would think that would be closer. I can't order to Kenya from South Africa. I gotta order from UK. Yeah, it's only the stuff that like I can't get here, which is few and far between. It's really brain like I can get an air fryer here. I just can't get that air fryer here. So it's really just like if there's a brand that you really really like, then that's where Amazon comes in. Or if you have like a bougie hobby, you know, that like people here don't necessarily invest in, that might, do it as well. All right, is that it? Is that all the questions? Have we come to a close? Have you guys figured it out? You got it? Looks like you're good. If you guys are writing something, just hit enter so I see it, and then I'll wait. So just hit enter in the chat. If you're writing something right now, and I will wait for you to finish. Like I'll wait for you to go back and correct, your comment. Um, and then if not, seems like we've come to the end. All right, looks like we have made it to the end. 1 hour and 45 minutes in. I don't see any new questions, so everything seems like everything. And I will be talking to the Freedom family next time, huh? I will be here tomorrow, same time, same place. And yeah, that is it. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys tomorrow.